Star Citizen can be a pretty beautiful game. I'm currently here on a live server, just drifting over Daymar at a relatively slow speed for spaceflights. See here, there's Crusader in the background. And atmospheric flight in this game can be amazingly fun because you get this thing that's missing in Starfield. You can actually fly around planets any way you want. You can pick any point you want and land where you want. Well, the problem is that the flight model in this current version of the game is so primitive that it's almost not there. Okay, so for example, if you have your gear extended, which I have currently, then your ship will basically act like no gravity is acting on it. Okay, and I'm putting the gear back in.
Landing gear.
See that indicator in the front of the screen. Now I'm starting to fall. And I'm accelerating. See that? The moment I extend the landing gear again,
Landing gear deployed.
notice I'm slowing down again. Let's imagine, I would like to show you two other games that got the physicality of landing on a moon or planet really right. So now I switch the game to Highfleet, and I'd like to show you how landing works in Highfleet. Okay, you can see my ship is falling out of the sky. Notice on the left, that's meters per second. And as I'm pressing up, I can also rotate left, right. The controls are actually pretty similar to Star Citizen. Let's see, as I'm actually slowly slowing down, and the thrusters are barely good enough to slow down the ship. And if I overdo it, the thrusters can actually overheat, shut down, and then the ship just falls out of the sky. As you get close to the ground, use some shift for extra boost, but I have to watch the engine temperature. I'm landing it. And the soft touchdown. Okay, so some might say that there was a 2D example, how to do it in 3D. And I think for that, just copy how helicopters fly in War Thunder. Okay, so this is a helicopter in War Thunder. And this is the perfect hover mode. And let me show you how it works. Basically, if you press W, your collective goes up. And I'm oversimplifying here. If you use collective, you change the angle of the rotor blade, which pushes more air downwards from the rotor disc, which means you go up, which is like strafe up in simple terms. Okay, so I give collective. And now we're going up. Now the cool thing is, it has a high degree of simulator realism in the physics, but it's completely playable with mouse and keyboard. That's the cool thing about this game. Okay, so as I'm pitching my mouse downward, and I'm flying with inverter controls. So as my ship or my helicopter nose goes down, I'm gaining forward speed. Or I'm also losing altitude depending on the angle. And to combat that, I have to give it more collective, which is tap W a bit more. Okay, see now I'm picking up speed. And here's the cool thing about helicopter flights. You cannot do what you want at any point in time. Now I'm flying relatively high speed for helicopter. And if I want to, for example, make a 90-degree turn, I have to actually plan my turn with how much I want to bank and have to manage the collective and the bank of the helicopter. So it's not like in the current Star Citizen flight where you basically, your ship is a free-flying camera that can stop at any moment and go anywhere it wants. Okay, so let's say I want to land somewhere in that field up here, okay? Now that's the fun part of helicopter flight in video games or in simulator games. I have to anticipate I want to land, and I have to manage what's happening before I land. Which means I have to slow down my speed, make sure I'm not rising or falling too fast. So what I'm doing here is I'm slowly losing collective, while letting myself basically fall towards the target. Notice what's happening here with speed. My speed is currently 238 kilometers per hour, which is about 23, 25, about 20% of the speed of sound. And the speed of sound is 330 meters per second. Okay, so that would be 60, 70 meters if you would calculate it in meters, okay? And notice my descent speed on the right, minus 2 meters per second. In Star Citizen, you cannot even manage to have such slow speeds because everything is too fast. And I think that's where the first cover mode, when the developers tried it, where it failed because They had a good instinct for creating a realistic helicopter hovering experience, but the ship speeds were too fast and the players had no fine control over the thrusters. So if a player wanted to correct left or right, he would immediately ice skate on the same altitude 20 to 50 meters per second away. Notice here, as I'm trying to go left, right, notice here. The helicopter doesn't actually slide away like an ice puck, like an ice hockey puck. It's basically stuck in the forward flight because of the physics. Okay? Let's say I want to land at that road over here, and I want to do it elegantly. Yeah, losing collective. Letting myself drop onto it, nosing up a bit. Which reduces my forward speed, but I have to manage. I'm currently falling too fast. 7 meters per second is a really fast descent speed. Increasing collective, notice how it's going on. And that's like a satisfying thing about in helicopter flight in video games. If you get into a gentle hover, or if you get like in just this gentle glide path of exactly where you want to go, without having to overcorrect and do violent actions. Like you don't have to mildly overcorrect or nose up aggressively to slow down fast. Like you just gently drift where you want to. And you can, most importantly, you can feel the physics acting against the helicopter. So you're basically, the physics wrap around your helicopter and you have to manage the force of helicopter to overcome the physics. That's the same in Highfleet. And that's how the game should be. For high atmospheric flight, ships would basically fall like rocks out of the sky, and you would have to use your thruster controls, like in Highfleet, like I showed in the previous clip, to manage your ship from not falling too fast and not overheating the engine so they don't fall too fast, which would require all the thrusters on all ships to be barely good enough for a skillful player to not just fall out of a rock. So you have to carefully manage it. And once you're close to the ground, ships should behave like helicopters. Okay, now swap a bit. Notice I'm falling too fast. Give it some collective. Now, this might seem difficult at the beginning, but the thing is, you can actually practice it yourself. Like War Thunder is a free game, it's free to play. And you can take one of those helicopters, even if you don't have it unlocked, because it takes a lot of playtime to unlock a helicopter. You can just test flight some of them, which I'm doing right now because I actually don't have that helicopter unlocked. And then you can practice what I'm doing here. And I promise you, just picking a random spot in the field and spending 10 minutes slowly approaching it and then perfectly landing it, it's extremely satisfying and it gives you more fun than you would get in the most exciting dogfights in Star Citizen. And I think Star Citizen needs that underlying realistic slow flight experience for any other flying to be fun. So if you like this video, I'd like to ask you, if you want, to share this video on the relevant Star Citizen channels where the developers can see it, which is Spectrum, Reddit, Discord. I normally wouldn't ask that for my other videos. However, I got into some pretty heated arguments about simulator depth in Star Citizen, which made it very complicated for me to keep posting in these places. And I spent the last half minute while I was talking not even touching the controls because the helicopter was on such a beautiful glide path, I didn't have to do anything, you see? Look at this. We're going down. Notice the relative speeds here. I'm like at the third of a meter per second in descent speed. And slower, and we're touchdown. So to collect the points from the video. Once a ship enters a high atmosphere, let's say on a 1G planet like Microtech, then ships should fall out of the sky. And the primary concern of the player should be how to manage the different thrusters to slow the fall to a point where he can get into some type of manageable slow descent until it's like a few hundred meters from the ground, maybe a kilometer from the ground. And then the thrusters should be strong enough to create helicopter-like behavior. And the important thing is to model the speed of a helicopter, which means you're not flying at the speed of sound near the ground. You're flying at a fifth of the speed of sound. And when you're landing, your controls should be so finely manageable that you're landing and taking off with less than a meter per second. Because if I play Star Citizen now and I press space, strafe up, most smaller ships like a 100i or even a Gladius, they will reach 100 meter altitude within 4 or 5 seconds. So yeah, that's it. If you're not convinced by my argument, try what I'm doing in War Thunder. Just take a helicopter and just practice it flying it around. And don't practice flying fast and doing extreme turns. Just practice flying somewhere at slow speeds. Pick an exact location in the landscape and try to land precisely on top of it. And I promise you get more satisfaction than any dogfight you can get in Star Citizen currently.